Let me tell you why you're here.
I've seen things.
Oh my god.
Whoa, yeah! You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Guaranteed to jack you up.
Yo, what is going on, my dudes? It's your host, LamarStaysWeird, coming at you again, out of sight, out of mind, with another podcast episode. Man, today we are going to be talking about The Menu. Now, I really got to say, I loved this movie so much, and anytime I have a moment to show anybody this movie, I immediately try to, because honestly, I thought this movie was really, really good. The writing, the cast itself is awesome. The jokes, the humor, the tension, everything, dude. Everything about this was really awesome. I had such a great time. I feel like when I first saw the trailers, I did expect something else. And it turns out a lot of people did too. And I want to say it is not a cannibal movie. A lot of people thought cannibalism was going to be a part of it. I definitely thought so, because I believe this came out not too long after Fresh. If you guys know that one, that's a straight to Hulu a movie that had who was it? I know I had Sebastian Stan, Bucky from the Marvel movies. But I thought that was a great movie. It came out a good couple of months before this one, so I had the same vibe that it would have to deal with cannibalism, and it didn't. But I'm perfectly okay with that. I thought this was great in and of itself, and I feel like I can relate to this movie a little bit. No, I did. I don't know. I'll explain it when it comes to story time. But this movie's pretty good. I think it's funny. It can be very witty. It talks about themes of the elites, classism. Like the haves, have-nots. I want to say little touches of mental health, perfectionism, which is definitely something I think a lot of people deal with. They always want to be really, really good at something, or make sure that's something that they do enjoy doing, they want to be incredibly good at, which I can fully relate to that, as being as somebody who's very creative. And when I say I'm very creative, I'm not saying like, oh yeah, I'm an artist, I'm amazing, I'm not being a pretentious douchebag like that. But when I do these podcasts, like, I don't think anybody knows how much I stress how good I hope everything is. Like, when people tell me they've listened to my podcast, and I'm like, oh yeah, thanks, and then I kind of get a little paranoid. I feel like I not weird people out or anything, but I ask them questions like, oh, how did it sound? Did it sound good? Like were the levels fine? Did was I talking too fast? Was I talking too slow? I would ask all these questions, because I want to make sure the listening experience is good. I want you guys to enjoy these, And the same thing from when I was making YouTube videos. Like, I I know it's going to sound funny, but if you guys follow me on YouTube as well, I did other gaming. I did streaming. I would edit together gaming videos as well, and I would try to make them to the best of my ability. And I would spend hours and hours and hours just on these things, man. It is gnarly. So I completely understand the whole obsession with perfectionism and like growth and passion. I feel all of that. And this movie talks about a lot of that, or at least it definitely implies how it can be, and how like the pressure can break some people and stuff. I'm not planning to do anything to people, but I'm hoping you guys at least enjoy it, and that's what I want people to do. In a minute, I'm going to give a quick synopsis, but the reason I decided to fit this one into the schedule that I kind of sort of have planned, a lot of times I'm just winging these, and it's like, oh, what movie do I want to talk about? But I was gone for a while, so in case anybody notices there was a gap in me uploading, it's because I recently went on a cruise. It was my first one. I got to really experience what it's like to be a person that came from money. Obviously, well, not obviously, not everyone would know. I did not come from money. Not at all. No, nowhere close to it. My upbringing was definitely different. Definitely different than these people in this movie. But being there, I got to experience it. We got to dress super fancy. We had these high-end dinners, like at this table, like all this liquor, all this fancy food that I cannot pronounce. I could not tell you the things that I ate over there. Just rooms with so many floors, and like a giant chandelier on a ship in the middle of the ocean. but we had people catering to us every step of the way. They would take everything. The moment I finished, they'd take it. All this other stuff. Oh, you could just leave your stuff here. You don't have to touch anything. And I know my girlfriend and I spent like hundreds of dollars, but I feel weird having people pamper me. I did not grow up that way. So it's like, hey, I can kind of throw this stuff away. I can empty off this plate, or, I can set it somewhere or anything. I'm that guy. If we go out to a restaurant or anything, I am going to kind of like stack the plates and try to like stock the cups, make it a bit easier on the server and stuff, because I do know what it's like to deal with that. And I want to try to make it as easy as possible. I try not to be complicated or anything, but because I got to experience that, I was like, hey, perfect opportunity to talk about that story and another opportunity to talk about the menu, because I feel like it relates. So it's like, yeah, I can talk about this. I fit that vibe. Okay, so this movie came out in 2022, The Menu. All right, starring Ralph Fiennes. Everyone is gonna know him as Voldemort, so that's a big tell right there. Anya Taylor-Joy, who's one of my favorites right now. She was in The Witch, Last Night in Soho, The Queen's Gambit, the show on Netflix, and she's now our Princess Peach in the recent Mario movie. Then we have Nicholas Hoult, which if you guys remember, we just talked about him in Renfield. And I think it's funny how these two kind of just keep missing each other in a way, Anya Taylor-Joy and Nicholas Hoult, because they're linked by some movie universes. So they're both in the X-Men universe, because Nicholas Hoult plays Beast, and she plays, I hope I'm going to pronounce this right, but Ilyana Rasputin, aka Magic. They're in that universe, but then also the Mad Max universe. Anya Taylor-Joy is set to play a younger Furiosa in a new upcoming movie. I believe it's just called Furiosa. I don't think there's anything else. And he played Nux. He was one of Immortan Joe's goons, or, like disciples. He was in there. So I think it's funny that they're both like in these universes, but they just keep missing each other somehow. And then we have John Leguizamo. All right, I don't know. I think I pronounced it right the first time. I'm going to leave it in. I don't care. You guys can hear me struggle. But I know him from Spawn. He was the Violator. Honestly, I think one of my favorite things about that movie, I think he did a fantastic job. So if you guys remember that movie, good shit. That is awesome. He was in John Wick as well. He was, I believe, the first guy to punish the son for what he did. He just straight up decked him. And another movie I think very, very few people are probably going to know, The Pest. I believe it was a 90s comedy movie. I know it's not politically correct anymore, I don't think, from what I can remember. I haven't seen it in a very long time, but I really, really enjoyed that movie as a kid. I don't know if it's still funny, but I know I was dying laughing as a child. So those are like the main people I know from this movie. But okay, back to the synopsis. So Tyler, Nicholas Hoult, he takes his plus one, Margot, who is Anya Taylor-Joy. They're going on this bit of an experience, a little bit of a getaway to this culinary sanctuary or temple, where they're going to be wined and dined, getting the whole full course meal, like super fancy meal experience by Chef Julian Slowik, who is going to be Ralph Fiennes. Now they're expecting this full on experience, everything's going to be it's kind of super secretive. You're not supposed to take pictures or videos or anything like that. And they're with all these other people. You got some douchey stockbroker type dudes. You got an old couple who just goes out, an old rich couple. They just go out, buy all this food. And you got the former movie star who is going to be John Leguizamo's. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I'm going to keep pronouncing it like that. But you got his character who's like a washed up movie star. And he's just out on this experience with his assistant. And then you have some like snobby food critics, so you definitely got some different types of people there, but they're all kind of elitist. But what they don't understand is they're definitely somewhere where something not so chill is about to happen. So Ralph Fiennes' character, Chef Slowik, he has this whole course planned out, and it's not going to go the way anybody thinks it is. This is all about him. Each course has something to do with his own personal story. So you start to find out more and more with each course. You already start to get the bad vibes once they get on the island and start looking around a little bit, if you really pay attention to these things. But Anya's character, she's not like a lot of these characters. She's not the elites. She's not part of that group. And you can tell by how she acts and how observant she is. She's not as indulgent as they are. She's kind of just there. She's our eyes. She is our segue into this world. We are supposed to relate to her and her experience and her seeing all this weird shit happen around her. Now, this movie was made on a $35 million budget, and it made that back. Like, worldwide, it grossed over 79 million. And I also really liked quite a bit of this film. It was supposed to be filmed in Scotland, if I remember correctly, but due to COVID, this movie was instead filmed in Savannah, Georgia, which is not too far from where I grew up. I grew up in Vidalia. I talked about that. But yeah, Savannah, Georgia, that was like the place to go. I lived in the country. That was my city to go to. But now that I live in Orlando, I could drive like 30 minutes, an hour. I can't remember how far Savannah used to be for me. I think it was like an hour away or so. Being there and like driving that far, I could do that here in Orlando, and I'm still in fucking Orlando. Like I probably went like maybe 10 blocks if. Yeah, Savannah was the place, man. It was dope. And Tybee Island, they filmed in Tybee Island as well. That was the beach to go to. Everyone in my area that talked about it. Anytime anybody went to any beach, it was Tybee Island. Nobody was out here saying, oh, I went to Daytona, I went to Miami. Nobody's saying any of these other beaches or anything like that. I'm not a beach person too much, so I don't know a fuck ton of beaches. So that was one of those things. And so like seeing that these are places they filmed is awesome to me. And another good fact, because they were in Savannah, there was a chef in Savannah that they used to train the staff in the kitchen of this movie. But they had the chef, John Benhace from Savannah. They had him just drill these people. And they were all people who actually did work or were working in the service industry, so they had experience. The director wanted to make sure that nobody could just look at it and go, that's not how it's supposed to be. That they wouldn't have done that. So they try to be as authentic as possible, and I really appreciate that. Perfectionism, man. They did a really good job, and it works. Now, we're going to kind of get more into the spoiler territory in a second. I'm about to start talking about the movie. I'm not going to, once again, still working on format. I'm not going to try to go super in on this movie, like scene by scene, but man, I really want to leave some stuff for you guys to watch. So I will definitely bring up some themes or just some things I've noticed, or even just researching. I found out even more, and honestly, it makes me appreciate the movie even more. I have it playing off to the side. I'm not full on watching it, but just so I could kind of keep a chronological line of events, so that way I'm not just jumbling all over the place, and I could point out some stuff. But starting the movie out right now, we're already meeting Tyler and Margot. She lights up a cigarette and just starts smoking. Tyler is a little bothered by this, because he is a foodie. He tells her, you're going to kill your palate. You're going to ruin your taste buds. That's pretty much what he means, I'm going to try to break it down for the people that's not going to know what the fuck he's talking about when he says some shit like that. But he's like, yeah, you're going to have that taste in your mouth. You're not going to enjoy the food so much. So he wants her to put it out. And now their dialogue is something I had pointed out to me. There's a bit of their dialogue that has double meaning. And I'm going to get into that later. But yeah, so they're smoking, and he just tells her, the first time, he obviously tells her to put it out, and they just kind of have like a little bit of a discussion of like, she doesn't believe what he's talking about because she's not taking it serious. She's not a foodie. She's just there with him because, that's what they're doing. They're going on this date or whatever. But then when he looks at her the second time to say please, she gives in, she does. So he says please twice. They get interrupted because of the boat. They're about to dock, so they're going to get ready to go. She asks, is everyone going to fit? Because there are other people waiting. We haven't seen them yet, but there are. And he tells her, yeah, it's 12 people. And this is where it's going to come into some subtle imagery. And I love when movies do this. There's always a little something that can be pointed out in movies for people who really think it through. And as somebody who does try to write stories here and there, man, I have such a hard time trying to cram in things or whatever. And when you see it in a movie and somebody points out something to you, it's like, shit, that is fucking big brain. Like, that is awesome. So they're obviously talking about 12 people are going. They're all going to eat. And what's the first thing that comes to everybody's mind, when there's 12 people at a dinner? The Last Supper. The Last Supper with, Jesus Christ. Very awesome imagery right there. I just think that's something that's really cool. And dude, they charge $12.50 a person. That is so wild. I cannot imagine spending like nearly $1,300 just to go eat somewhere. I don't think I could. I'm down with just fucking like store-bought pizza or even mozzarella sticks in an air fryer or something, Like I'm perfectly fine with that. But holy shit, $1,300 to go eat somewhere. That's it's not for me, man. And they do show the dishes and they look pretty. Trust me, all of the dishes, they look amazing, but there's a good chance I would not eat most of them because I feel like I just wouldn't really like them. And now is when we start to see everyone else arrive. So I believe the first people we see are going to be like the three douchebag, accountants or stockbroker dudes. You got Bryce, Dave, Soren, and you definitely get a sense of Tyler as well because when he sees these people, he's like, oh, great. Like he kind of groans. Because he sees the type that there are. They're just doing it to do it. They're doing it because they can. He's doing it because it's something he wants. So he just talks about, oh yeah, those guys, they're probably going to be wasted by the time the food comes. And trust me, he would not like me either because on the cruise, there was plenty of times, we all started to get like a little bit of drunk before dinner because, man, the alcohol on the boat was astonishing. But it's the only thing I can relate. It's the only really, really fancy thing I would say I've been a part of. It's not my thing, but I did feel like an outsider there. And so like seeing him be kind of snobby towards that, it's like, yeah, Tyler wouldn't like me either. And then the next set of people we start to see this old couple. You see Richard and Anne. It's an old married couple. And whenever Margot sees Richard, she immediately kind of just jumps a little and tries to hide behind Tyler a little bit and just try to like look off. So obviously she knows him from somewhere. And the next people we see just kind of puts Tyler in complete shock because we see Lillian and Ted. So Lillian is this prestigious food critic, and Ted, I guess, is kind of her assistant or her plus one, something like that. He's kind of like just a follower. Throughout this movie, you can see him constantly just trying to go with whatever the hell she's saying and saying things to appeal more to her. So he's definitely, it's just like a business relationship. And they're both completely snobby. Lillian is actually snobby. Ted is definitely trying to be as snobby as her. And Tyler is loving this because supposedly Lillian is the one who put Slowick on the map. So she found Slowick, and then now he's this other prestigious chef with a fucking sanctuary on an island. So she's going to be a part of it, and he's just losing his mind like, oh, tonight's going to be insane. It's madness. I don't know. I'm a piss, shit, and throw up at the same time right now because I'm so overstimulated and joyed. He's fangirling. And Margot, Anya Taylor-Joy's character, she's just there. She's completely unamused by everything. She is dressed nice. Everyone is dressed pretty nice. Tyler's in a suit. Everyone else suits and dresses. And she just kind of has her hair up. Not saying having your hair up is a bad thing, but she has her hair up. She does have her makeup done and stuff. So she looks nice. She's in a dress, but she has it with a leather jacket. So she's obviously the outcast of the group. And the next set of people to come on the boat, John Leguizamo, credited as just the movie star. He's just a washed up movie star with his assistant, Felicity. They're there. He's kind of just trying to get into the food industry, like the food tasting and all that, because he is a washed up actor. And what do a lot of washed up actors and celebrities kind of do? They go do these reality TV shows for no apparent reason. And this is a commentary on that. Clearly, he doesn't know anything about food. I believe it's later stated in the movie. He's not much of a food guy, and he has to keep rehearsing this line, how he's going to open up the show, because he has no idea. He's not a food person. He's there because he kind of has to be. And I think it's also another fun fact, John Leguizamo morphed this character after working with Steven Seagal. He is a diva. even still to this day, this dude is a diva. He is literally the guy. He will not be recorded losing a fight. He will let it be a stunt man. And he is known as somebody to not really pull his punches when it comes to doing stunts. So a lot of people just don't really like working with this fucking guy. Like, he will be petty. He just has attitude. And Tyler just doesn't believe the bullshit. He believes himself to be better than everyone because this is something he wants. He is excited to be there. He feels more privileged than anyone else to be there, that he has more purpose because he is a big fan of Chef Slowick. But man, like, Tyler is such a condescending asshole through this movie. So they finally get welcomed. You know, they're brought this caviar little dish that's on like a shell or something. Nicholas Hoult plays this character perfectly. I don't think I could stand to be around somebody like this. I really don't think I could. But he takes a bite, he starts laughing to himself, and then he just starts analyzing. Like, he goes from like laughing to like serious face, like analyzing the plate, just staring off, and thinking about it. Like, yeah, no, this is really good. Like it's a classic of his. And she tells him, well, you know, I don't really care for it. I kind of prefer oysters. And, oh my god, this guy pretty much just telling her, no, you're wrong. It's the balance of the products. You know, it's everything. They complement each other. That's why it's better. And he's pretty much just trying to tell her, like, oh yeah, you don't like that. You should like this because of this. After all that, they arrive at the island. Everyone's getting off, and we get to meet Hong Chau's character, Elsa. Hong Chau does a great job playing Elsa. She is Chef Slowick's right hand, second in command power. She does a great job in this movie. She's the one checking in people off the boat, meeting everyone, welcoming them. But whenever they finally get to Margot and Tyler, this is where we have a bit of an awkward moment. We get the hint something is definitely a little off because she checks in Tyler and then says somebody else's name. And he kind of just stammers over his words like, oh no, she couldn't make it. And this definitely is a surprise to both Elsa and Margot. And the look on Elsa's face, she's definitely taking in all this information, pondering, and just kind of observing. And she definitely doesn't look happy about it because this isn't a very exclusive thing. So having this +1 that wasn't brought to anybody's attention is definitely something to put a wrinkle in things. But she tells them welcome, and they're allowed to pass. They start to go on this tour of the island. Elsa starts walking them through everything. You get to see the beaches. You get to see people fishing for scallops. You get to see the herbs that they grow naturally because they try to have all the natural food. They use all the resources of the island, which is something I like. I don't think is particularly snobby in any way. I think it's really cool. They use the resources around them. They do take it seriously and how important it is. But obviously the people who are there to just be a part of it, they don't take it as serious. They just look at everything like, oh, that's pretty. Oh, that's cool. Nice. And they shoot this very beautifully. Everything that they show, you know, just little hints of life. All right. So now we're going to the next location on the island, and it's the barracks. And if anybody knows anything about cults, it is definitely weird. They love to keep you super close and not go anywhere. And she talks about how, yes, we live here. The chef does not, but we all live here. And there's quite a few beds. They're all well made. Like, it looks like a boot camp in there. It's spotless. Like, it doesn't even look like anybody has belongings whatsoever. All the beds are made, and there's only one toilet. It's not even hidden. So, very eerie cult mentality going on here. And this is where she goes into details of the more toxic thing that you should be afraid of anytime you go for a job or anywhere. She just says, we're all family here. And if that doesn't turn you off like anything, I don't know what will. And this is where a little bit of I would say kind of foreshadowing, you know, not trying to spoil later or anything. One of the douchebags just asks her, like, oh, like, don't you guys get burnt out? Because she goes through their rigorous schedule. No, we do not burn out. We hold ourselves to the highest regard. Chef does as well, so this is what we do. We do not burn anything unless it is intentional. Keep that in mind. And a good subtle hint that I, like, you know, after doing some research, I was able to find out. They moved past the barracks and all that. And while they're walking, they're also being led by goats. So this is going to be a bit of the spoiler if nobody's watched the movie. A Judas goat, obviously you could probably tell by the name, something's not great with that. But a Judas goat is a goat that's used to keep the cattle calm whenever they're transferring them onto trucks to take them to slaughterhouses or just leading them straight into a slaughterhouse. Because a goat's going to be calm, the goat knows it's not going to die, you know. But the cows, they're gonna obviously freak out because it's a fucking slaughterhouse. You know, animals aren't dumb. So the goats are super calm. The cows go off the vibes of the goats. Like, okay, yeah, everything's fine. So they're, you know, a Judas goat. They betray the trust, you know, another Christian innuendo. So that means you guys can kind of pick up on the fact not everyone is getting out of this alive. And now we've made it to the point where everyone's inside. They're starting to see the kitchen. They see the seats. They're all trying to take their chairs. And then the man himself comes out. Ray Fiennes. Chef Julius Slowik is in the building. Ladies and gentlemen, he comes from the back of the kitchen. He's observing everything. He's walking with this confidence and control. And once he's out looking around, double checking what his staff is doing, Elsa comes up to him, whispers. He just pans over, and Tyler is just staring at him because he's fangirling all over again. But they make eye contact. And Tyler is now like getting a bit flustered, like, oh, is he looking at me? So he's looking at the table. The first thing we can think of is he has now been made aware of the guest that is not on the guest list. And now another thing I forgot to mention, there is this old woman that is sitting in the room in the corner. She's at a table and she does not talk whatsoever. She just constantly has a glass of wine, and she just looks like a tired old woman. And so they're going around the room. You can hear everybody talking amongst themselves a little bit. In this moment when they're having the first dishes, it's going normal. You can tell everyone's getting comfortable. They're having their own conversations. You get a little bit of everyone. Each time they do bring out a dish, just like you would on a show. It's super zoomed up. You get to see the details of the dish. You get to know the name. You get to see the ingredients. Very well done. And in the middle of this, Tyler is taking a picture of his dish like he's not supposed to. And Elsa saw him. You know, it's going to come up later. But she sees everything. This woman is observant. And she is front of house. And she does not let shit fly. But now we're on to the first course. Each course has a bit of a story behind it, and he does kind of go into it. He has this bit of monologues before each course, and I'm going to cover those here and there. Now we get Chef talking about the first dish, called the Island. And just to hammer home how obnoxious this guy can be, Tyler, Margot starts to talk about herself, you know, say something about, you know, her most fancy restaurant in her hometown, and he immediately cuts her off and was like, hey, do you think the chef is mad at me? Just completely ignoring what she's all about. She's just like, why do you care? You know, like, you don't have to call him chef. He probably doesn't even know who you are. He just goes on that, you know, he wants the chef to like him. And he's tearing up a bit while they're having this conversation. And Margot just tells him, you're the customer. You're paying for this. He doesn't have to like you. It's his job at the end of the day. We move on to the next course. The second course is called Breadless Bread Plate. So it's literally just a plate with like these different, I guess, dipping sauces. The chef starts to go on this story about how bread was the easy food. You know, you didn't have to hunt or anything. It was just a few minor ingredients, and there you go. It was the common man. It was cheap. The whole point of it is none of these people are the common because they're all wealthy, so they don't get it. He's not going to give them the bread. And everyone just kind of takes this as a joke. And of course, Tyler being Tyler, he is enjoying this. He's just eating it up. Literally and metaphorically, he is just eating this up, saying like, yeah, he's telling a story. And Margot's just thrown off like, what do you mean he's insulting you? And it makes no sense for us not to get bread. He should be feeding the people that are at his restaurant to eat. And Margot uses this phrasing saying, call me the girl next door, whenever she does talk about that he should be feeding the people at his restaurant. And Tyler, you know, he just says, you know, honey, nobody would call you the girl next door. And I think she takes it as a compliment, but I see that as a double meaning as well, which is something that's going to come up in a second, or not a second, but in a little bit. And it's just like, oh, I love how their dialogue has double meaning. If you watch this movie one time and then you know everything and then you rewatch it, you start to notice, like you bitch. That was kind of a backhanded thing he just said, but you guys will get it in a minute. And now we have the douchey accountant guys. They come up. So they work for Mr. Varick. Mr. Varick owns Chef Julian. He owns everything. He funds everything. So he works for him, and these guys work for him as well. So they're asking Elsa, hey, why don't you just slide us some bread? We're not going to say anything to anybody. And she just tells him no. So they start to puff out their chest a little bit. I guess he's like the head of the group, Soren. He's the real douchey one out of them. And he just dismisses her like, okay, that'll be all. You can go. Thanks. And so she bends down and then whispers in his ear. She just whispers up close in his ear, you will eat less than you desire and more than you deserve. I don't know why exactly, but fuck, that line stuck with me, man. She fucking cooked his ass with that line. She straight up roasted this dude. All puns intended. She sauteed this motherfucker in front of his friends discreetly. She had that shit on low heat, but goddamn, it was already burning to begin with. And then we cut back to Tyler. He notices Margot's not eating it. She says she's not going to, so he's like, fuck it, I'll take it. And whenever he goes to grab it, he knocks over a wine glass, and it draws all the attention to them. Chef does not even pay attention to Tyler. Tyler tries to apologize. Doesn't even look at him. Immediately looks at Margot and is like, you're not eating. Why wouldn't you eat? And they have a bit of this back and forth of her saying, well, I don't want to fill up on food. He's just going, no, the portions are correct. Nobody's going to get full from tonight. I've done everything right. This is food. Eat your food. And she just goes, no. Tyler is visibly embarrassed. And the chef just walks away. He just takes it in stride what she said. And it starts to get a little tense between Richard and Anne, the old married couple, because Anne starts to say she looks like Claire. Richard's like, no, she does not look like our Claire. And now we're moving on to the third course. This is where Chef finally introduces the old woman in the corner is his mother. And he starts to talk about his childhood. He talks about the story of how his dad tried to kill his mom by strangling her with a phone cord, which another thing, the chicken is sitting on a coiled phone cable. So obviously dark, and he's definitely letting art imitate life. He does that, and the scissors part is where he stabs his dad in the thigh. By the way, the chicken looks really fucking good, I'm not gonna lie. But it's the chicken, and it's also served with tortillas. But the thing is, all the tortillas have something printed on them. The whole theme about the third course is memory. Now, we start to go through everyone seeing their tortillas. The critic, she has printed on hers pretty much the storefronts of all the stores that she's closed down, reminding her of all the lives that she's ruined and jobs that she took away from people. The old couple just has a bunch of pictures of them, all the times that they went and ate from the chef. With Tyler's, his tortillas are of him actually taking pictures of the food. And the movie star, on his, it's a movie he really hated. He did it for a paycheck, and that was it. And it was, I guess, like his biggest bomb. Now, the douchebag accountants, they get theirs, and they see a list of wire transfers. So obviously some fraud going on, and they're all like, how do they get these? What the fuck is this? And so they call over Elsa, and it's like, what's this? And she just goes, tortillas. Tortillas. She's just trying to like wording it out to them, talking to them like children. And so they start to threaten her like, hey, we're going to have this place closed by morning. You fucked up. And she just straight up tells them, all calm and collective, like, oh no, it won't be necessary. And then we cut back to the older couple. The only thing you can see on there is a man sitting with a woman at a table. You don't really know what's going on, but you can kind of tell, it's a younger woman, older man. And the wife's asking like, oh, like, what's this about? And he's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe it's the wrong one. Maybe they put something else in there. And now we come back to Margot and Tyler, and she's telling him like, oh, they can't take pictures of you without your consent, like doing this, like this is wrong. And so she turns around and starts calling for Elsa or somebody to like, hey, take this shit back. And dude, oh my God, this moment is so triggering to me in this movie. Tyler just starts like snapping at her, and she gets mad at that. It's like, yo, did you fucking snap at me? And he just tells her straight up, like he's kind of like quietly going off on her, Just putting in the angst in his voice. Like, no, you don't send shit back in here. You're a child. And this is where it gets a little more fucked up right here. I hate when people do this shit, man. But she just tries to calmly tell him, you cannot talk to me that way. Tyler, you need to apologize. So she's trying to be civil in the moment. And he's like, actually, I fucking can because I'm the one who's paying. And that is another thing that has a double meaning. Like, full on just holding it over her head. Like, hey, I brought you here. I'm paying. Shut up and eat your food. You're going to listen to me because I'm the one doing this. Anybody who holds power over you in some way, especially financially or like favors or anything, yo, fuck those people, man. That is some toxic shit right there. So she storms off to the bathroom, all because he's acting like nothing happened. He immediately takes a bite of food and just is in bliss. Like, oh my God, like you should try this. This is really good. He just completely washes it away. And the next person to walk in is the chef. The chef and her are just like looking at each other. So he starts to ask her, why aren't you eating? She's like, why do you care? Because I take my job seriously. You're not eating. He continues to ask her, who are you? I don't know you. Who are you? You're here, but I have no idea who you are. What is your name? And then she says, I'm Margot Mills. And he just tells her straight up, you should not be here tonight. And then she just tells him straight up, after being made a little bit uncomfortable, like, get the fuck out of my way. And he just stands there for a second, staring at her, and he just moves out the way. A little bit respectful, he has slight code, he's not being super creepy, but mostly. And now we get set up for the fourth course, the mess. And with this one, we get introduced to Jeremy. He is one of the staff workers. He was actually the one that Tyler talked to earlier that knew his name. The chef gets to talk about him as well. Like, oh yeah, he wanted to be just like me. He wants to chase my greatness. He'll never be me, and that's what he wants to be. His course, the one that he came up with, is called the mess. And he just takes out a gun and just fucking blows his brains out in front of everyone. Everyone is visibly freaked out. Like, okay, what the fuck? This is where the horror really starts to come in. The horror notches are starting to turn a little bit. I know I said earlier there's no real cannibalism, or at least I don't think there's any cannibalism in this movie. I stated it earlier. This is not a cannibal movie, but I forgot it's not exactly said or disproven if it is cannibal, because the dish is I'm reading it, pressure cooked vegetables, roasted filet, potato confit, beef just with bone marrow. So I don't know if it's any of Jeremy, because they do take his body and then the dish comes out, but I feel like they were already prepping the dish in the background, so I don't think so. So I'm gonna say this isn't cannibalism, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe one day I'll figure it out. But I love how whenever they do show the dish up close, kind of like they do in the shows and stuff, this one, right underneath all the ingredients, it just says R.I.P. Jeremy. And I just find that so fucking funny. The old couple, Richard and Anne, just decide, no, fuck it, we want to go. This is crazy. And they have guards standing in the hallway now, so nobody can leave. And Elsa approaches them, tells them, nobody's leaving. Like, please go have a seat. And they just keep going on, no, we're going to leave. We don't want to be here anymore. And she just says, okay, left or right. Well, either you choose or we choose for you. And so they're still kind of confused. Like, you know what? Okay, we're just going to go. They grab his hand, put it on the table, and just cut off his ring finger. And after a mild freak out of everyone, Elsa just picks up the ring and gives it to Anne. And the whole time this is happening, Tyler is just enjoying his food. He gives no fucks. So he is completely unbothered by everything going on. And the conceitedness of some characters. So now the critic starts to think, oh, none of this can be real. This is all a show. Because I've criticized his stuff before. He's trying to pull out all the stops and make it for me. Like, wow, that makes sense why this actor is here. And the guy that's with her leans over to the movie star and is like, hey, the acting is incredible. Like, you guys are doing great. And even the movie actor is like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, he's so lost on what the hell they're on about, but they think it's all about them. And the chef has not forgotten about Margot. He's staring her down from the kitchen and sends Elsa to come grab her. And it's like, chef wants to see you in the kitchen. And then fucking Tyler just making it about himself. Oh, can I come too? Elsa just immediately just like, no. And so this is when he starts to confront her again about, who are you? He said, I've served many Margos. You are not a Margot. And then he's telling her, I planned all of this. There's a plan to this. You are not a part of it. You're not supposed to be here. You're ruining it. And I need to know where to put you. And so he just goes with us or with them. And this is where we know nobody is leaving the island, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody is getting voted off. Everyone stays. He just tells her straight up, we're all going to die tonight. I just need to know where to put you. Isn't that right? And then everyone in the fucking kitchen just goes, yes, chef. And so he gives her a cooking timer and tells her, you got 15 minutes to decide. She's walking back and she's visibly distraught. How they shot this and how it's zoomed in on her face, and you see like there's definitely some warping going on to probably show that level of anxiety that's going through her head. And when she walks up, Tyler is just like, well, he fucking gave you something, didn't he? What did he give you? Like protein, vegetables? What did he give you in there? And she just fucking smacks him. He does not care. And he just asks one more time, protein or veg? What did he give you? Then we're on to the next, it's not a course, but the next serving. It's a palate cleanser. It's a type of tea. It's supposed to be a calming drink. And another thing I want to point out that was pointed out to me, so everyone is sitting at a table, okay? Everyone's grouped up, but they're all specifically sat there as well. I don't know if this is just a movie thing, like what it is, or this is the way that the chef wanted it. So it could be a bit of both. So the 7 deadly sins are represented by 6 of the tables, and one of them is represented by the staff. You have greed, the stockbroker dudes, those 3 guys. You have gluttony, who is Tyler, because this fucking dude is just a major foodie. You have lust, which is Richard, the guy who cheated on his wife. Envy, the movie star. He's jealous of everyone being more popular than him. You got pride, which is the food critics, Lillian and Ted. Sloth, which is Julian's mom. And then you have wrath, who is Julian and the chefs. All 7 sins are in this movie. I thought that was very neat. But while everyone has the time to talk about everything and call him out, he also gets to talk about why he doesn't like any of them. So he goes through all of his reasons. I'm not going to go through every single one, but don't worry. I got a show for you guys. Mr. Varick hung up in the sky with 2 angel wings on him, and he just gets slowly let down into the water to where he is drowned in front of everyone. And after everything, the timer goes off. Margot needs to go talk to Chef. He tells her, I know a fellow industry worker when I see one. And this is kind of where it starts to come in. She's a sex worker. So he just asks her, oh, how do you know Richard? You've been looking at him this whole time, so how do you guys know each other? Yeah, so this is where it starts to get really creepy. So she says the only thing that they ever did was he would just kind of jerk off. He wanted eye contact, and for her to say a trigger warning for incest here, but say like to tell him that he's a good guy, that I love him, that I'm their daughter and stuff. So it's very fucking, yeah. And he tells her that he doesn't need any more details because he knows what it's like to be in the service industry. He knows bad customers. I fucking know bad customers. I'm sure plenty of you out there fucking know bad customers, man. People fucking suck. God, I can't stand people, man. I can't wait to get out of my job and go to something different. And he asks, you enjoy providing your services? And she says, yeah, confidently. She just said, like, yes, I do. And nothing wrong with that. I'm pro sex work. I think it should be regulated quite a bit more. It should be a thing. We're all humans. We all have needs. People can fill those needs. People get paid for helping other people with their stuff. Common sense right there. I just want everybody to be safe, clean, protected. That's all I want, man. And she's obviously a good people reader because, it's part of her job. So she knows he's missing something on the inside. He feels soulless. He does not enjoy any of it. And now he takes everyone outside. So the women get to go back inside. When all the men are outside running around, the women are inside. They get to talk to Chef Catherine. And they just ask her, like, oh, are we all dying tonight? She says, yes. It all has to happen. The menu doesn't work if anybody lives. Everybody runs off and slowly get found one by one. But Tyler is the one that doesn't really try to escape. But everyone gets found. They get brought back inside. And this is where Tyler gets singled out. Or the chef calls him out and is like, okay, why are you here? And this is where he goes, I wanted to experience your food. And chef goes, well, What all were you told? He was told about the dishes, and he reveals at last, yeah, everyone was gonna die. So Tyler was the only motherfucker to know that everyone was gonna die. And so Chef hammers that in, like, yes, you knew. And the whole time, everyone is just staring at him, and Margot is just glaring at him, just completely mind blown. And the chef just flat out asks him, you willingly hired her knowing that she was gonna die. And this is where Tyler just says, because you don't offer seatings for just one, you have to have somebody else. And Anya is selling this whole death stare perfectly. And right after he tells him yes, she just leaps over that table and fucking decks him in the face. And supposedly, that was Anya's idea, to have him get punched. I fucking agree with that, dude. He tells Tyler, why don't you get in the kitchen, show me your skills. And Tyler, dude, this whole scene is fucking nerve-wracking, man. They're all just watching him, and he has to do everything himself. He has to come up with a meal in front of everyone, and it's just so nerve-wracking. But now, once he finishes the food, Chef tries it. Obviously, it does not look cooked all the way or anything, but he still eats it. He says, wow, that is actually pretty bad. And it just crushes Tyler. You see this smile of pride, and it just goes down to this like face. And it's so funny. They show off this meal the same way they show off the others, and it's called Tyler's bullshit. And I love it. And so the chef gets in his ear and whispers, and Tyler just has like this very disturbed and distraught face, and his eyes are just watering, and you just see him walk off, and he never comes back. And after that, Elsa forgot something, so now I need somebody to go get it. And Elsa is very caught off guard, like, like, I don't forget anything, like, what are you talking about? I can go get it, we don't have to send her, we shouldn't. And just this little bit, but he tells her to be quiet. So she gets sent on this mission to go find this. And while she's leaving, this is where she sees, like, in another room, she can see Tyler's body hanging from, like, by his tie. So he went and hung himself. This man was severely dedicated. And while she's gone, they're able to have a little more discourse of why he doesn't like anybody. The assistant is asking if she could live, because he's just saying, like, oh, you've all lost purpose. You've just become like entitled douchebags pretty much. And so Felicity just asks if she could live. And Chef just goes, where did you go to school? Felicity goes, Brown. Student loans? He's asking. No. And then he just said, sorry, you're dying. So pretty much just saying, like, no, yeah, you're still privileged. You're gonna fucking die. Now we cut to Margot. She's in his quarters. She's looking around for the stuff. And she meets Elsa. She's just saying, you will not replace me. And she tries to go after her. And whenever Margot starts to get the upper hand and is going to try to kill her, Elsa just reveals, he didn't tell me about the barrel. And so she got the upper hand, she gets the keys, and she goes to his room, and she's able to see all the memories, all of his first accomplishments. And one picture that she focuses on, because he does not look happy in any of them. He's just straight face, professional. But there's this one employee of the month picture from 1987. He's flipping a burger in the picture and just smiling. It is a very young looking Ray Fiennes. It looks nice. And her being a service worker, man, she pays attention to the clues. She notices this. And, it's going to come in handy later. And then we cut back to the people inside. And turns out it's one of the douchebag accountants' birthday. And they're singing him happy birthday and bringing him a cake. And the guy looks over at one of the other ones like, you fucking told him it was my birthday? And they just go, yeah, it was funny about 3 hours ago. And so I thought that was hilarious. It's like, yeah, dude, I fucking hate these things. If you do this to anybody, you suck. I know I do it to people. I suck. But man, I know nobody enjoys doing this. Nobody likes being on the end of being sung to, and nobody wants to be like the person singing to them either. So it's just not fun for anybody. But everyone fakes it. We all know they do. But Margot comes back with the barrel, and then she's able to take her seat, and the Coast Guard or whoever, somebody on a boat shows up. They come in, they're just like, hey, we want to check it out. We got a distress call. And everyone's pretending like everything's okay, but you could visibly see a lot of people are very bothered and have their own shit going on. And he recognizes the movie star. And he asks for an autograph. So he gets an autograph. The chef allows him to get an autograph. And of course, he already knew they're going to say, like, oh, being held hostage, help, 911. And so he whips out this gun, and everyone's like, oh my God, like, shoot him, shoot him, shoot him. That's the guy, and all this and that. It's all super high tension. And the guy's just pointing the gun at everyone, like, all right, like, he doesn't know what's going on. And then he just fucking points the gun at a candle, clicks it, and it's a little flame. And he lights the candle back. So he's in on it. He knows everything. And everyone is just like, what the fuck, man? Everyone's just like mind fucked and just completely distraught. And they just thank him for his performance and all that other shit. And the chef's not happy, saying, you betrayed my trust. Like, wow, way to go. So he goes back in the kitchen to prepare. And you know what? This is when all her observation work comes in. She knows how to work her guests. She does this chef clap that everyone's been doing before every meal, and gets everyone's attention. Everyone looks at her. And she just tells him, I don't like your food. I want to send it back. And she talks about how the experience, you're supposed to sit down and enjoy this type of thing. I'm not enjoying any of it. Nothing feels like it's made with love. I don't like any of this. And he tells her, we always cook with love. That's what we always do. It's the most important ingredient. And she said, no, you're lying. None of this has been great. You're cooking it because this is your profession. This is your job. You're not doing it because you really want to. It's been boring. And the worst of all, I'm so fucking hungry. You haven't served me properly. And he is just blown away. And he just asks, like, what are you hungry for? Like, now he's in a serving mood. And she just tells me, you know what I would really like? What would hit the spot? A cheeseburger. And we get a zoom up on his face. It's honestly kind of cute. I dig it. We get a little bit of a zoom up on his face, and you see the slightest smirk. And he's like, I can do that. I'll make you the best cheeseburger you've ever had. So we go into this full-on little montage of him making the burger. And you got orchestral music playing, and it's nice. Honestly, fuck, dude. This burger looks so fucking good, man. Like, holy shit. I'm fucking starving right now while I'm recording this. Because I haven't eaten yet. I just got up and I was like, yeah, I need to record something. Like, god damn, dude. My mouth is watering. My stomach is growling. Like, shit. And you see, he's sincere about making it. You can tell by his facial expressions. He's happy. And everyone else is just like sitting there quiet, like, what the fuck is going on here? They're just watching. But he gives her a fucking double-decker quadruple cheese slices. Amazing. And it's on bread. She gets bread. She gets the common food because she is one of the commons. She didn't grow up rich or anything. He gives her the bread, the only person to get the bread. And he looks so happy. He's even smiling while putting it together, placing the bun properly, pushing it down, watching the juices come out the side onto the bun. Oh my god. It's amazing, dude. I'm so fucking hungry right now. I hope nobody's watching this while like on lunch. I mean, hopefully while you're on lunch, because then you can quench your hunger or whatever, satisfy your hunger. And me, if anybody's listening to this while they're like working or hungry, it's like, fuck, dude, I feel so bad. I'm so sorry. But you know what? She finally gets the burger. She takes a bite, and man, she looks happy about it. God, fuck, that burger looks so damn delicious. But while she's eating it and like doing like, and like smiling while eating it and like chuckles a little bit, he is pleased. He has a smile on his face. Not showing teeth, but he has a smile. And he's happy about that. And another thing I really, really want to point out, all the food that they made in this was prop. A lot of it was prop. None of this was really edible. So they were stuck like in this room for hours. It takes hours to film shit, dude. So a lot of times people weren't eating, people were starving. The only food that was real and edible was the fucking burger that Anya Taylor-Joy got to eat. But John Leguizamo literally was so hungry and saw that she was eating a cheeseburger and was like, "Fuck, like I'm starving." He ordered cheeseburger and fries for everyone to eat because everyone was fucking starving and she got to eat something. I think that's sad but also incredible at the same time. Yo, goated move right there. What a Chad. But she doesn't finish it. She still plays into this whole thing about the experience. And so she tells him, I can't really finish all of it. It's nice. Can I get it to go? He's thrown off by that. And he tells her, one moment. And he gets her a fucking to go bag. And they show this off one more time. The fucking food, it's a close up of the food. And it's like, it says supplemental course, a cheeseburger. Underneath the text to describe, it says just a well-made cheeseburger. I remember when my girlfriend and I were watching this in the theater, it was so funny, just what people would laugh at. Like, everyone chuckled at this. It was, oh, it's great. But she plays along with the whole experience. Because earlier when they had that back and forth, the quick back and forth before the meal, she asked, how much would that set me back? He said $9.95 or something like that. And so, whenever he brings her a to-go bag and a gift bag, a fucking gift bag, she puts a $10 on the table. I was like, there you go. And she's able to just walk out, and everyone's just silent, like, what? But right when she leaves, everyone's able to get a fucking gift bag full of stuff. And Chef's telling her, you know, we appreciate you guys dining with us, and you guys represent what's ruined my life, the art. Like, that's what you guys have done. People get marshmallows like put around their neck, like these little like poncho looking things full of marshmallows, crushed graham crackers everywhere. Some of their sauces are pulled onto the floor. Everything's well designed. And he's turning everyone into s'mores. And everyone has chocolate caps like placed on their head. And he says that's the dessert, a s'more. And he calls it the most offensive assault on the human palate ever contrived. And honestly, I had a s'more for the first time about a year ago at a Japanese barbecue place. It was great. You know, like the Japanese barbecue. But I was like, whoa, this, like, it was okay. It was messy. I don't know. I didn't really like it. Like, it tasted fine, but just eating this obscure object that just melted everywhere, it got messy. I'm not a messy eater, okay, guys? I eat nicely. But yep, end of the movie. Everyone just gets fucking cooked, man. And there is a good little there's a good little story as well from Greek mythology that this can also be symbolized by. And it was pointed out by somebody on IMDb. So I'm definitely gonna go through this and, you know, tell you guys what it says. This is a nice little thing. I think this is really cool because I love Greek mythology and I didn't know this. But it says, a newspaper article in the chef's room shows that he once worked at a restaurant called Tantalus. Tantalus is the name of a character in Greek myth. He invited the gods to his home for dinner, but tricked them into eating a stew made of the meat of his own son, whom he had murdered and dismembered in order to test their omniscience. When the gods realized what he had done, they cursed Tantalus to stand in a shallow pool of water under a fruit tree. Anytime he would raise his hand for the fruit, the tree's branches would rise beyond his reach. And anytime he would bend down to drink the water would recede. Much the same way, the chef has served the elite, in parentheses, the gods, and sacrificed his dream, his son, and now all food and drink is meaningless to him. That's another one of those things I was talking about earlier where like these little meanings, these little things that get put in there, and it's like, wow, dude, that is awesome. That's amazing attention to detail. I try to cover this as quickly as possible. I'm gonna try to cut down a bit here and there. I'm really sorry if this is long. I'm trying not to, man, but it makes it fucking hard. There's so many things important in a movie. I don't see how anybody could do breakdowns in like 20 minutes or anything. I wish I could be one of those people, but I don't want to leave out so much, and then people are questioning like, what the fuck? How do we get here? You know, I don't want to do that. But I'm gonna try to end this as quickly as possible. But once again, I really appreciate you guys being here and listening. Thank you so much. I'm your host, LamarStaysWeird. Before I do go, I am going to give you your fortune cookie. I'm never going to stop doing those. And here it is. Make sure to do what you love, not just what you're good at. Do with that what you will. Alrighty, until next time, my dudes, be excellent, be kind, subscribe to the podcast.